Hello, hello. Whew, don't mind my wild hair and my Marvel t-shirt. I am just thought I would hop on real quick and catch you guys on a live on a Sunday that I said I was going to do 2 Sundays ago, and it just didn't happen. I think my Sundays are usually my unwind and or like catch up days because Saturdays are usually always a market day. So it's a really long day. Yesterday was no exception, but I have a whole backup of questions, and so I wanted to come on and like cover a few of the questions. I won't cover a ton of them because I have a lot of work to do in the barn today. And so that's why my hair is wild and I'm in a Marvel t-shirt because I'm headed down to the cricket barn after this. It's supposed to be 92 degrees here today in Iowa, and we have babies hatching. We have a whole slew of crickets in what I would call their hungry teenager phase. So the barn is a lot of work right now, but based off of the way sales have gone lately and everything, I'm going to need all of the crickets that I can get going into the back half of the year. So, something really weird happened to me on Friday. I've been on TikTok since the end of 2020, like really early 2021. Um, there is a guy that I know here in town that he's actually verified on TikTok, and he was talking about it back in 2019 and said, I should really look at getting on it. But at the time, I was like, well, I'm 30 years old almost in 2019. I feel like I'm too old. I feel like that's a kids thing where they just do dances and things like that, and I'm just not going to do it. So I didn't get on TikTok early. He did, and he wound up going very, very viral and wound up verified, gets paid by TikTok as part of their creator fund, all of that. Anyways, so I've been on TikTok for a while, been dabbling in like the trends and things like that, but have tried to just make some original content. I really enjoy it. I feel like I'm a little sassier on TikTok than I am on Instagram or anything like that. And so I clipped up a short video of me that maybe some of you have seen. It's the episode of The Cricket Farmer that Iowa Public Television put together. We filmed it back in 2019 and it aired first on in April of 2019. And if you've ever seen a presentation that I've given, like I always start with that video because it just summarizes my background and all of that. And the visuals are great. So it summarizes with that. And so I just clipped that up into 6 different clips. And I was just going to drip campaign them out because I didn't want to be creative and have to figure out a new TikTok to post every day. So I was like, I'll just clip it up, save it in my drafts. Well, I shared the first 2 and then I just got bored with it and I had all these other TikTok ideas that I wanted to upload. So I just batch posted the rest of them, the final 4. 48 hours later, which happened to be Friday morning, I had finished up in the barn and had just gotten home, and I popped open TikTok, and that part 3 of that 6 clip thing had all of a sudden had 2,000 views, which for me, like that's just, I normally get 300. I started the day with like 425 followers. And so for something to get 2,000 views, I was like, whoa, that's kind of cool. And so I shut it and then I opened it 5 minutes later and it had 4,500 views. And I went, whoa, had a whole bunch of comments, I had like 20 or 30 new followers. And I was just like, this is kind of bizarre. And over the next 3 hours, it went from that original 2,000 views up to 24,000 views and over 200 new followers. And then about an hour into it, I had created a TikTok using the green screen effect, advertising my free crickets, the free trial pack. So I ended up pinning that to the top of my TikTok profile. For those of you who don't have TikTok, you can pin 3 posts, probably more than that actually, to the top of your profile so that when someone clicks on your profile, that's like the first thing that they see. So I pinned that to the top of my profile and then proceeded to get like 30 something orders on Friday. So Friday was intended to be a little bit of a day off because I knew yesterday was going to be a really long day. I drove all the way down to Quincy, Illinois for the Quincy Brewing Company's Makers Market, which was really cool. It was my first market in Illinois. But so Friday was meant to be an easy kind of off day, just sort of get things organized for the next day, maybe sit outside in the sun and enjoy myself a little bit. And it turned into TikTok virality. So ended up, I think right now I'm sitting at like 36,000 views on that one video. And then I just have a few more that, and almost 900. Am I at 900 subscribers? Let me see. Give me a second. Oh, as it starts talking. I am up to 923 followers on TikTok. So that means I'm only, 77 away from being able to go live on TikTok. 1,000 subscriber threshold, kind of like YouTube. To be able to go live on mobile, you need to have at least 1,000 subscribers. On TikTok, in order to be able to go live, you apparently need 1,000 followers. So yeah, that has made things very interesting. TikTok is really cool. I think, YouTube's very cool in the same way that like I get exposed to people that wouldn't normally be within my realm. It's a great way for people to find me and to learn what I do. And the algorithm is just so different from things like Instagram and Facebook, which I've been super active on for quite a while. So that was my Friday. If you're on TikTok and you aren't following me yet, go follow me. I have tried to get a little more active on Shorts here as well, which has bumped my subscribers a bit too. So that has been interesting. I have been doing my best to use the shorts to give you guys updates of like what goes on day to day. So not everything makes a good like educational long form video, but I do like to give you guys glimpses of like what's happening day to day. So I'm really enjoying shorts. I hope you guys are checking those out. If not, check them out, share them with people. And so let me go take a look at because there's a ton of questions. I've had a lot of you that have asked questions in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I know that I said I was going to do another live like the week after the last one that I did, and I just didn't get around to it. So sorry about that. And I don't even remember where I left off. So let me see if I can go back and find a few of the questions. So I think 2 weeks ago is probably what I would, okay, 2 weeks ago, I think is about where we got the cut off. Because that's where it seems like I have an influx of questions. And like I said, I had a whole bunch of questions. So I'm just going to pick a few and go with it. Like I said, I do not have a ton of time today. I have a researcher in from New York University she is a PhD student doing her dissertation on edible insects and specifically like edible alternative proteins, specifically edible insects. And she's here for hands-on research essentially for how the crickets are farmed. So she is working with me on the farm all summer. So she's coming this afternoon because we have baby satching, and like I said, we have crickets to feed. So let me see what we can do. Okay, this is an easy one. One question: do crickets bite? So yes, very much. It varies a lot based on the breed that you are dealing with. Interestingly, so that is why I didn't choose banded crickets, is because I heard they're more aggressive and they bite more often than common house cricket. That being said, I get the crap bitten out of me by baby crickets all the time. I don't really blame them. I think that they are just in search of food or water. Sometimes they escape from the incubators and they just get all over the place. The only crickets I've ever really been bit by are the baby crickets that have gotten out of the incubator and are in search of food and water. And for whatever reason, when they get on my skin, they're like, oh, perfect. Looks like a meal. So yes, they do bite. Varies by breed, but I would imagine all baby crickets probably bite. Okay. Um, so hello there. I have a question about breeding. Hope this is the best place to ask. Simple question, I hope. I'm comfortable about my colony and how these things explode. I have 77 tarantulas at different ages and sizes, so I have 1,000 to 3,000 odd crickets. Hard to count individually. Totally get that. Uh, by weight, once you've figured out your basics. Super happy and love them, even talk to them. I mean, what pet owner doesn't talk to their feeders? Fair enough. My question though is, should I introduce new bloodlines so inbreeding doesn't happen in time? If so, how often, or is that not something to worry about? Thanks in advance. This is a really, really good question. Uh, and I never answered this person. I am so sorry that I never wrote back to you. I thought I replied as I clicked on the reply, but I see that you just added to the question. Um, And he said, P.S. I have them in my room. I sleep so well with the sound. You're bang on. It's soothing. Cool. I don't know if I could keep my feeders in my room, but hey, more power to you. And for those of you who don't want to sleep in with them in your room, I have a little under 12-hour video of the crickets chirping on our farm. So you can use that one if you'd like. Do you need to introduce new bloodlines? So, with those numbers that you're describing, 1,000 to 3,000, if you're 3,000 plus, you should be pretty good for a while. If you're under 3,000, I would probably mix new ones in every 6 months or so. But I would say just be really observant of your population. Like, if you are not having any problems with eggs hatching, if you aren't having any problems where you're suddenly having a bunch of dead crickets, if everything seems to be flowing okay, there's really no reason to introduce new outside genetics, if you will. Honestly, every time you introduce new bugs, make sure you quarantine them from your old ones to make sure that they are not diseased and that they're not, let's say you're getting them shipped in. I would keep them quarantined for a little while to make sure that they are okay. Because once you've exposed your colony to some sort of outside insect that has a disease or something like that, very difficult to get rid of it. So that would be my one piece of advice in terms of introducing new genetics. But in general, if you have no problems, just roll with the population that you have. If you start to notice like a decline in hatch rates or an uptick in early deaths or anything like that, then it might be time to introduce some new insects or there could be some other problem. Hope that helps. I do see that I have a question. Did you eat a live cricket before and can you do that again? I have never eaten a live cricket and really have no desire to do so. I get that question a lot of do you eat them live? And I always come back with the question of would you walk up to a cow, pig, chicken, any other form of protein and just bite a chunk out of them? If not, why not? I know your answer is going to be no, but let's assume without the risk of getting kicked or pecked or anything like that, you just wouldn't do it. So why would I eat my livestock alive? Just because it's little? That doesn't make sense. So no, I've never eaten a live cricket, and no, I will not. Sorry. Okay. Um. So. Okay, this question. Talking about assembling waterers and preventing crickets from drowning and all that kind of stuff. So this would have been the video where I put, the pebbles in the little container so that they have little things to walk on. And this person said, I know there's a parasite that makes them drown. If my crickets drown, is that a sign of parasites? Potentially, but also possibly not. Oftentimes, the reason that crickets will drown is because they get overwhelmed in their spiracles. The spiracles are their breathing apparatuses. It's what they breathe through, and it's on the side of their abdomen. So, sort of like gills, but obviously they don't function underwater, otherwise they wouldn't drown. But so I believe that they're really easily overwhelmed. So that's part of the reason that you need to have really good footholds for them to be able to get in and get out of. Next question. I read that it's recommended to put a metallic net on top of it, and it being the breeding tray, to prevent males from eating the eggs. Is it just exaggeration? So I've seen other people that have recommended this. I just think it's extra labor that's unnecessary. If you can produce enough eggs and hatch out enough eggs to replace your population and then some, this is just an extra step that you don't need. Will some of the eggs get eaten? Probably. But you know what? You have a ton to work with. If you feel as though you need more and you see the eggs are laid and they're just not hatching, or you see if you see a decline in population that's really that significant and you feel like you need to do it, try it for a few rounds and see if it helps. Personally, we've never needed to go and do that. It's just extra work. So slightly exaggerated, probably, but who knows? Um, Question: do you store them in the freezer after drying or just on the shelf? We just store them on the shelf. We don't put them back in the freezer. Typically, right now, as we're drying them, we're actually turning them straight into product. I'm cutting it that close at all times right now. So if anybody comes in with a really big order, it's going to take a few days because I got to get everything dried in order to be able to produce it. So, no, once they're dried, they don't go back in the freezer. They just go on the shelf. It's a good question. Where should I put the egg tray for incubation? Should I put it under a heat lamp for 15 days or where? Ooh, under a heat lamp for 15 days sounds to me like a recipe for drying it out really fast. You definitely do want it in a warmer place. So if near or under the heat lamp is the place, I would make sure that you are monitoring the moisture of the substrate constantly, like daily, possibly twice a day, depending on what the overall humidity of your room is. So the warmer the better for the incubation, and the total time for incubation, total time required for incubation, um, really depends on the amount of the temperature, the amount of heat that you are applying. So if you are incubating in the range of 90 to 92 degrees, might take as low as 7 days for those crickets to hatch. But if you are incubating at, let's say, 80 degrees, it could take as long as 21 to 24 days for the crickets to hatch. So that is very, very dependent upon your conditions. Like I said, the only thing that worries me a little bit with the heat lamp is the potential to dry the crickets out, or dry the eggs out, dry the substrate out if you are not really on top of it. So, this is going to be my last question because I was going to do my best to keep this under 20 minutes so that I have time to go get some more celery before I have to meet Paulina in the barn. So, how often do crickets need to be fed? This varies depending on the maturity, conditions, population densities, etc. In the very beginning, for us in our barn, for our setup with our pinheads, we need to feed them once in the first 14 days of life. Once that has passed, then it's probably every, I would say, 3 to 4 days or 3 to 6 days, up until they are about 30 days old. I would say once they hit that 30-day mark, like, they need to be fed daily. They just start mowing through the food when they are one molt from maturity. I call it the hungry teenage phase because you give them food and you turn around and it's gone. So it's one of those where you'll put the food in and you'll come back the next day and wonder if maybe you forgot to feed them because they ate that much food that quickly. But that's the main phase. Once they've gone through that final molt and are fully mature, their feed consumption slows down considerably. So you might only, once the majority of the bin has gone through the final molt, you might only need to feed them one more time, and that will get you all the way through harvest. So it varies, and it also varies on your setup. How much feed are you feeding with the population density? Personally, we found that the more feed space you have, the faster the crickets grow and the lower the cannibalism rates and die-off rates seem to be, which is similar to other livestock. The more feed and more feed space you give them, the less problems you tend to have. So don't think that was a super definitive answer, but that one's hard to do when varying on your setup and varying honestly at what time in the life cycle. So I know this is a really short one. I am sorry about that. Like I said, I meant to do this the last 2 weekends in a row, but things have it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I've just been busy trying to get the barn in order to really capture the best time of year to raise the crickets. This is when, our yields are highest and everything. So it also happens to be the busiest time with market season, but really just trying to set myself up for the second half of the year, because last year, between the 30th of June and the 31st of December, I did, prior to June 30th, I did like 30% of my sales, and then 70% of my sales come after the month of June. So having enough crickets to hopefully continue the growth trajectory that I'm on in terms of sales, I have to tend to my crickets this summer. They really need to do well. I need to have as much weight as possible going into the fall and into the holiday season. So with that, I am going to go get myself some more celery and head down to the cricket barn and do some cricket chores with Paulina. And if you guys missed me chatting about the TikTok virality, it's been a really weird week, but really cool. If you haven't found me on TikTok yet, go check it out. A lot of the things that I'm creating on TikTok, I recreate for shorts or just download my TikTok and put it on shorts. So you get to see most of it. But yeah, so I am not going to promise you that I'll do another one of these next week, but I will do my absolute best to hopefully get another one in before the month of June is over, which means I have to do it next week. So anyway, thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Happy Father's Day and happy Juneteenth to everybody. And I will hopefully see you in the next 2 weeks. Have a great rest of your day.